Prodigy Richie. You can also check me out streaming live on my YouTube channel, which is currently Charles Richie. And of course, right now, we are streaming live just momentarily here on my Instagram. That is Prodigy Richie. As we get ready to get things going here for this edition of On Deck here on CSR. And let's start off right now with the Chicago Cubs at this point in time. As they are a team right now, when you look at their schedule right now, it seems to be pretty favorable at this point in time. But Chicago Cubs right now, for the most part, they have been trying to stay in it, to say the least, right now. And at this point in time right now, the Cubs, who, once again, they trail the NL Central by a half game, like I just mentioned. And you look at the remaining schedule down the stretch, where I really think it's be interesting. And as it stands right now, they're going to be having at least 4 more home series throughout that stretch, while at least 4 of those, so it's going to be split in half. Excuse me, they're going to be having 5 series on the road, and those teams will be against the New York Mets, the Milwaukee Brewers, San Diego Padres, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the St. Louis Cardinals. And which I may add, the most interesting of that schedule is going to be that final 6 games when they got to be on the road against Pittsburgh. Those still seems to give them fits every once in a while. And in my opinion, that's like the new rival, I think, in the division, little by little, even though they're having a tumultuous season, to say the least. But then you also got to end against the St. Louis Cardinals. That weekend series against the Cardinals, that could probably be for the NL Central. That division could possibly be on the line when you look at it. But the Cubs do believe at this point in time, for the stuff that's going to be the keys down the stretch for them to get going, is that it's going to be their bullpen. And Joe Maddon thinks that everyone has not been healthy necessarily to get the run that they were needing. I mean, as everyone is aware, I mean, when you look down the last few stretches of that time, the bullpen has ranked in the top 4 within the last 4 years. I mean, which has been good, which has been extremely vital. I mean, a lot of it to their playoff success when you really look at it. I mean, obviously last year they get bounced in the wild card round to the Colorado Rockies, but at the same time, too, it's still a true backbone of support that they can count on. The only problem is they only won one World Series on the road this year, and that has definitely been concerning and could probably arguably cost them a shot at the playoffs. So I want to ask you, Cubs fans, right now, as you're tuning in and watching this, what do you think is necessarily going to be the key? One guy that seemed to be brought up in attention was Jon Lester, who fell to 10-9 yesterday at that 9-3 loss against the Washington Nationals. He seems to be fine. He's getting ready to get on a good stride at this point in time. I mean, we'll see about that. But I do believe right now, I mean, it's still going to come down to winning on the road. And when you look at the win-loss percentage they have to deal with, I mean, their strength of schedule, it's about under 500. It's about .484 the teams are going to be facing. So they got a pretty decent favorable matchups in there. All those teams that you're going to be facing with losing records, I mean, down the way in those series, you're going to be having at least 5 series where you're going to be having teams with losing records, which will be the Mets, Mariners, and excuse me. Then you have the Pirates, Reds, and guess once again the Pirates. I just feel like right now you cannot be sweeping this under the rug. You have to be a little bit more on alert, realize what cost them last year and learn from it. And don't forget, I think their bats did kind of decide to go cold on them, especially in those pivotal tie-breaking series against the Brewers for the division. That was a one-game tiebreaker to win the NL Central. Then, of course, the one-game wild card against the Colorado Rockies. So that's why I think right now has to be being looked at right now when we look at it. So you let know what you guys think. Again, it's 773-966-2494. Again, that number to be reached is 773-966-2494. You can also follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richie. And let's take a look at the guys real quick here who the Cubs have been dealing with and been missing somewhat in action for this length of time when you look at it. And the Chicago Cubs. And here's some guys that are going to be some interesting notes to be coming off. And, I mean, you look at closer Ken Grimbo, he's been pretty much doing his part so far. But now you're going to be having setup man Steve Cishek, who's coming back from a hip injury, and high leverage reliever Brendan Kintzler, who's coming back from a pectoral injury, who have returned from injuries within the past week. And you look at it, like I said, I think one key name to think about is Jon Lester, who seems to be in decent stride down the stretch when it comes to closing things out for the Cubs. And we'll see what happens. But I tell you what, right now, I think if Joe Maddon has anything to fight for his job security right now, it's now more so than ever. I mean, as we've been paying attention to the reports, you've definitely been seeing a little angst coming from Theo Epstein. Remember, they used to be rivals. But at the same time too, it's just you look at like the inconsistent decision making he's been making, where they've been losing a lot of games late. And a lot of those late games could come back and haunt them. So I definitely do feel like right now they have to keep weather the storm in that, especially when you got a lot more games on the road. I wonder if that's going to be the thing that ultimately catches up with them, or something they could correct. Because that's going to definitely be an interesting tell of the tape if they're going to have any hopes of moving deep or even playing, yet alone, October baseball. That's what I feel. And Joe Maddon, too. I mean, he's also one of the oldest managers, in the league. So, he's definitely got a lot more old school mentality at times, where he handles his ball club. But how much is it more? Is stuff just being swept under the carpet? Are they really to say that they are going to get this thing figured out? Are they going to have something in time at this point? And we'll see what happens. But again, if you want, feel free and dial up the number. It's 773-966-2494. Again, that number is 773-966-2494. You can also follow me once again on Twitter. And then you can also check me out streaming live right now on Instagram, Prodigy Richie, and of course my YouTube channel, Charles Richie. All right. Well, coming up, we're in the transition into some college football. Found the biggest storylines of the season as we get ready to wrap up. It's the 150th anniversary of college football as we are getting ready to start off this weekend. It is heating up in here as we are still in the dog days of summer at this point in time. You're listening to On Deck. Me, Charles Prodigy Richie, only on CSR. Well, that's a kind of way of saying it. Oh yeah, dark streams. Just best way to sum up this dog's days of summer is the Cubs are hanging on to survive for their playoff lives, not only for the division but maybe a wild card if it comes down to that. This is brought to you by Dark Strings. The credit of this, Lost in Scores, the creator right here. And real quick here, so just want to move on, but yeah, that's I think one way to sum up the Cubs season right now is it's been an up and down battle, but still finding ways to be in it. We'll see what happens, but right now we're getting ready to transition into college football. It is the 150th season of NCAA football, as a matter of fact, as we get ready to kick some, you know what, here on this edition of On Deck. And speaking of which, right now, we're going to be having later on tonight to help officially kick it off, Miami and Florida at 6 p.m., which will be the official kickoff time for all of it, as the Hurricanes will be on the road against Florida Gators. So that should be an interesting matchup right there, and we'll see what happens. But I got to tell you, one of the biggest storylines in this, too, when you look at it right now, I mean, you got Clemson coming in here as the defending the college football champions right now in 2019. who pretty much won the trilogy series against Alabama. Remember, Alabama beat them in 2015. They rematched a year later, lost to Clemson, and of course, this past year in the college football championship game. And when you look at it, and of course, right now, I mean, you look at it, and the teams are coming in here with some of the favorites for the college football championship. This is by OddsShark. And here's the official rankings we got right now. We got Clemson at plus 225, Alabama at 225, Georgia at 650, Ohio State 950, Michigan at 1400. They're the fifth ranked team in here. I mean, all of course, depending if Jim Harbaugh is going to find a way to wipe away those excuses of why he cannot beat Ohio State. Now that you got Urban Meyer retired, no longer coaching for right now. I mean, he claims it was due to help, but probably a little bit more to it than that. Then, of course, you got the Oklahoma Sooners, Texas Longhorns, Oregon Ducks, LSU Tigers, and, of course, the Florida Gators. So, one of the things real quick here when we look into it at this point in time, like I said, I mean, Jim Harbaugh, who's definitely made some intriguing comments about Ohio State going into this year, and when you look at it, and one of the things, too, that was really got him in the headlines once again as he was looking at it, he said right now, because one of the headlines was that it's hard to beat the cheaters in the SEC at recruiting. And it doesn't seem like he's the only one in Michigan who believes that they're coming at a real big disadvantage. He was quoted as saying, "Name another school that competes with the Blue Bloods athletically. We're talking Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, while competing with the Blue Bloods academically, Stanford, Northwestern, Princeton." And Michigan director of recruiting Matt Dudek said, per Arnold, "Most of the players we recruit are good enough to play for Alabama or Clemson, smart enough to play for Ivy League schools. If you don't win in the classroom on Monday, you won't be here for many Saturdays." And I think that was definitely a fair, interesting point right there. I mean, it brings up how they can get some of these young, up-and-coming prospects playing for them. I definitely feel like right now when you look at it, I mean, hey, I mean, Jim Harbaugh, he's been a guy who's struggled as not just as a player, but as a coach to win big games in his career. I mean, fair or not, I definitely feel like right now what he needs to do is maximize his team's potential right now more so than ever. This is year number 5 for him. And the last thing you want to do is trip up in a situation like this and really put your foot in your mouth, making all these comments that you do in the offseason, and have it all backfire and blow up in your face once again. And that's the thing right here. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, when you also, too, I mean, when he said, I mean, one of his losses to, like, Ohio State, he was also saying, too, that we played a lot of young guys. Jim Harbaugh blames University of Michigan's inability to beat Ohio State win big on youth. And it just seems like right now, one of the quotes, I mean, he was saying, this year the offense will look different, Harbaugh said. The major ways it will look different will be shotgun, no huddle. Shea Patterson is good at that. He operates really well with that, and he can run. He can use his legs. He's got quick decision-making that really fits the RPO world. Josh Gattis really comes with a lot of tremendous credentials in the area. Josh is going to call the plays. I'm sure there will be a time, if I want to call a play, I'll make suggestions. So far, I haven't done that. He's doing a heck of a job. I just get the sense, like, are we trying to buy more excuses for Jim Harbaugh at this point in time? Is this a guy who's just definitely looking for a lot of help and due to his inability to win big games? that's where I seem to challenge this guy at right now. And I think where it gets a little flustered, I mean, with Michigan fans, and you just kind of get a little, what's the excuse, and what reason are you gonna come up with next? I mean, honestly, I think this time around, I mean, you'll be playing, I think, this year, when you look at it, for their season, as we take a look at things. I mean, when they face Ohio State this time around, it will be in Michigan. It will be on November 30th, but definitely got a lot more time to go. I think they just need to concentrate on their schedule right now, just take care of their opponents one by one, and that'll come in time, and we shall see about that as we look at it. But yeah, I just feel right now, I mean, what more leverage does he need to find to help right now? I mean, at this point in time, I'm not getting it. It's just more of a mental thing. We shall see. But I definitely feel like right now, the expectation right now is to deliver, make this team a winning football team. Otherwise, we may have to continue. We may have to decide to look elsewhere, because obviously he's not getting the job done as we recruited back by his team 5 years ago. But also, let's look at some other storylines right now. I mean, here, because aside him from losing by 17 points per game in team deficit, I mean point differential, I should say, does Nick Saban get the record for most national championships? Right now, he's still tied with Bear Bryant, who won all 6 of his national championships with Alabama. I'm gonna have to say probably no for right now. Maybe like the following season. The only thing is, I will say in the last few title games, I mean, with a guy like Nick Saban, when it really boils down to, he has shown some chinks in his armor when it's come to losing. I mean, winning or losing some of these close games. I feel like with his team overall, and you look at it, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, they got away with one against Georgia. They're able to capitalize on some mistakes late in that game back in the 2017 college football championship. At that point in time, they were trailing by at that point. When you look at it, in that moment against Georgia Bulldogs, they were down by 13 points. Didn't score anything in the first half. Changed quarterbacks. You had Tua Tagovailoa, who actually helped bail them out. He was one of the heroes of that game. So as far as like the favorites for this year, when we look at it, I think I'm gonna have to go with right now. As far as when I look at it, I'm probably looking right now for the college playoff. I'm probably going to go with Clemson, Georgia, and Alabama and Oklahoma, more than likely. I think it'll probably shape up like that. Harbaugh, I'm just not really too confident to give him the edge, the nod on that one. We got to pause and take this bottom of the hour scoreboard update. You're listening on deck, only on CSR. At 1:30 p.m., I'm Charles Bradley Ritchie with your ChicagolandSportsRadio.com update. Brought to you by the Illinois Media School. For more information on career in broadcasting, go to BeOnAir.com. Well, it is the 150th anniversary edition as we kick off with some NCAA college football. And to kick things off later on this evening to officially open the season, we're going to be having the Miami Hurricanes on the road against Florida Gators. That game is going to be at 6 p.m. in Florida as we take a look at that one going into that game. Also, some other notable games coming up will also be at 6:30 p.m. Will be Florida A&M visiting to take on UCF. Georgia Tech will visit to take on the defending college football champions, Clemson Tigers. Then, of course, you got Texas State on the road against Texas A&M. And then we also Excuse me, no, it's just Miami and Florida. So my bad, my fella in that one. Let's also swing over some baseball right now. Chicago Cubs, who lost 9-3 right now. You have Jose Quintana right now on the mound. They're trailing 1-0 right now in the top of the first inning. 2 men are on right now. Nationals have took a 1-0 lead. See that where that goes. And then also you had the White Sox too, who actually just won a game last night against Texas Rangers at home, 8-3. They're going to be taking on the Rangers later on today at 6:10 p.m. Then also, let's take a look at some news in the NFL as being reported by Ian Rappaport. You can follow at Rapsheet on Twitter as we take a look at it. For right now, let's look at what he's got to say. Right now, at this point in time, Lions standout center Frank Ragnow, who left last night's game with a scary-looking injury, suffered just a minor ankle sprain, according to a source. This update has been brought to you by the Chicago Dogs Baseball. Next home game broadcast will be August 28th against the Milwaukee Milkmen at 7 p.m., 7:05 p.m. For tickets, visit thechicagodogs.com. I'm Charles Ritchie. You're listening to Chicagoland Sports Radio. It's not just sports, it's a way of life. And now back to On Deck, only on CSR. And welcome back, everybody. The CSR's on deck right now, and just getting ready to wrap up the storylines in college football. Like I said, I think it's definitely going to be an interesting time at that point in time as we look at things to say the least. But I definitely feel like Jim Harbaugh is going to definitely be one of the storylines leading into it as he still makes his little cheap comments towards like teams like Ohio State University and, of course, his inability to win big. I mean, with the recruiting, I guess you could say, in the university at that point in time. So we shall find out what they're made of at this time. But right now, too, I mean, is Clemson going to be able to repeat? They seem to be stacked with a heavy load offense going into this year. And you also got to believe Oklahoma, how close they're going to finally get to their turn. So we'll find out. But right now, coming up, we're going to dive into some NFL extra points as we got into a few injury right now with Cam Newton suffered the foot injury against the Patriots. Hopeful that him and the Panthers organization are hopeful that he'll be back in time for the start of the regular season. And then, of course, you got some other stuff. Antonio Brown helmets drama saga still going on. And then my favorites for the NFC and AFC. Listen on deck, only on CSR. And you hear that song, you know what that means. It is time for some NFL extra points here to close out here on the home stretch of On Deck. Me, Charles Pride Richie. And let's get right into it right now. As we seem to get a little bit more closer right now, as we are about officially a little bit more than 3 weeks away from the start of the regular season of 100th NFL season, and also Chicago Bears too, who seem to be looking like early football favorites right now for the Super Bowl with the talent they got, the defense they got, and we'll see how that goes. But I really do believe right now with the Bears, who are definitely looking into a good season to make this a Super Bowl year, I definitely feel like right now they're looking at it right now. Like I said, I mentioned last week, well, a team is trying to who is trying to deliver on the championship team and playing with a lot more pride than ever as we look at it. And yeah, I think right now, I mean, you got the development of a guy like Mitch Trubisky right now. He's been hardly taking any preseason snaps. They've been liking their philosophy. I mean, when you look at Matt Nagy and trying to take him to the next level in his career. But I really do believe right now they are headed in a good direction as far as like defensively and what they could do down the stretch. So let's find out. But we also got in a couple weeks too. Don't forget, we also got the statue unveilings coming up. That's going to be taking place live at Soldier Field. It's a private ceremony, which I got official confirmation from. I'm not going to say who, but I reached out to someone within the organization. And as a matter of fact, they're going to be having the statues of George Papa Bear Halas and, of course, the late, great Walter Payton, which, by the way, late October, be 20 years ago since his death, that's going to be happening on September 3rd at Soldier Field. It is not open to the public. It's just pretty much for the families and friends who got invitations to that. So, but anyway, once the statues are unveiled, pretty much it's going to be for distribution for people to go see at the Soldier Field. I think it's going to be at Gate 0, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, I think those are two reputable, iconic names when you really think about Chicago Bears football and the history of it, which is one of the things I'll be looking forward to. I mean, two of these guys who meant so much significance to the history of this franchise and really represented what it's like to be a Chicago Bear and playing Chicago football. For the team to start off as the Decatur Staleys for the first 2-3 years of their existence and to be where they're at right now. Chicago Bears, I mean, just definitely did a lot of great stuff right there. I'd like to hear some of your Chicago Bear moments real quick. I mean, just amazing stuff, by the way. And I was looking, like, all-time, though, too, real quickly. I was looking at some all-time Super Bowl historical data. I know I did not mention this in the live, so I want to do apologize to everybody. But check this out. I mean, when you look at all the things they did, as far as, like, everything, like, in the history of the Super Bowl era, they still got the most sacks in a single season by a Super Bowl team. Since it is a 100 season of not only the Bears, but the NFL, they got 64 sacks, even though they won one Super Bowl. And then also as far as this, too, when you look at defensive takeaways, still lead that category with 54 altogether. Next two teams that come in line after that are the Oakland Raiders of 1980 with 52, 1971 Dallas Cowboys, and then the other remaining two in the top five would be the 2000 Ravens with 49 takeaways and the 78 Steelers with 48. Turnover ratio, they're still number one in that regard. They're tied with the 1981 49ers and the 2000 Ravens with a plus 23 ratio. And a lot of stuff. And that's some good, impressive stuff right there when you really think about Chicago Bears football and everything that has been the embodiment of this franchise and what they meant for so long in this city and this town. Which, by the way, they deliver like second as far as like in sports history with championships here in Chicago. I think before the Blackhawks. I think they did it like after the Cubs did it. Cubs were actually the second team in town to deliver on that. But like I said, I definitely feel like it's definitely a season on a mission. You can definitely feel something in the air right now for this season as far as like what's going to go down. And let's see where it goes at that point in time. But again, number that we reached is 773-966-2494. Again, that number is 773-966-2494. You can also follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richie. You can also check me out streaming live on Instagram, Prodigy Richie, and of course my YouTube channel, Charles J. Richie. Now let's get ready to go into the remaining storylines here for the NFL season as we get ready to tie a little bow on this show of On Deck here right now. So let's also look at it. And you look at one of the things right now, too, recently, Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton, who had to leave early in the first quarter against the New England Patriots, which was later reported on that he had a sprained foot he suffered in that contest. And according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, who's reporting from NFL Total Access, the Panthers hope that Cam Newton's foot will be ready for week 1. And which, by the way, the Carolina Panthers, when they get ready to open up their season this year, as we take a look at it, they're going to be opening up against the Los Angeles Rams. And boy, I got to tell you right now, let's just say if he is clear to go, I'm not sure like how much enthused I'm going to be ready for that one. I mean, the Rams still got a respectable defense. I mean, despite being ranked a little bit harder than what should, do some injuries right there when you had like Aqib Talib, who was missing in action for a big chunk of that season. And you look at what they're doing. I mean, this is a team that's got to be coming out playing with some anger and some attitude when you look at it. I really believe right now, I mean, if he does come back, how effective is he going to be is going to be the biggest question. Of course, obviously. But I will say this, too. I mean, this has been also another thing that's been brought up, too. I mean, throughout, like, the league and speculation, even Mike Tirico was on with Golic and Wingo yesterday, how he was saying at some point in time, do you just eliminate the NFL preseason altogether? I mean, when you're still continue to see big-name stars get injured, I mean, throughout this time, I mean, just do something where, like, you promote, like, a good scrimmage game, like how you did with the Patriots and the Lions. I think it was in Detroit, and then just, then you just do, like, $10 per ticket, something like that. And that's all. But, yeah, I definitely feel like right now it's definitely an interesting time at this part where it's something that Roger Goodell has been trying to cut in half. But then again, at the same time, I don't feel like they're getting enough ratings as they would out of a preseason game. That's the thing. And I think for right now, what they look at is that obviously, I mean, they're still considered a big marketing machine. I mean, has it lost a little bit of popularity as far as with the violence somewhat, or like the politicking going on when you look at all the social justice and stuff? I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to handle on the plate for everybody, but what they're choosing to allow to dish out and to be criticized for, open for criticism. That's where I feel right now. And I just look at it where I say at this point in time, it may be a possibility that they may come to fruition. Personally, I wouldn't mind it, but I mean, at the same time, too, I think you still want to kind of keep these guys active. You still want to develop your up-and-comers, your rookies, at least. I think, like I said, I think if anything, where they need to do is look into this AAF football, have that be your minor league system, have that still go head-to-head with the NFL, but you just do it where it's on a Friday night, if that's okay. I mean, my only concern is, do you affect, like, high school ratings? I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, not many high school games are televised on there, but I mean, I think you do it on a Friday night. You have some guys in your minor league system in case you ever have some injuries, someone you can call up, and then we'll see what happens. I just think that's an idea to consider. I don't think it's nothing that needs to be squashed, but I think at the same time, too, you want to show, I mean, if you're going to continue to expand or have some people draw some interest in here, you want to have some good up-and-coming talent on this. So let's also wrap up into our last storyline real quick here. I mean, it's been hot for like the last 2 weeks. It's kind of died down somewhat. I mean, you got newly acquired receiver who actually had his falling out, of course, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who received a third or fifth round draft pick from the Raiders. Antonio Brown, arguably one of the greatest receivers skill-wise today this league has ever seen, up there with the likes of guys with Julio Jones and Odell Beckham Jr., and he's been like more frustrated over the fact that he couldn't wear like his helmet, that all of a sudden they got on a banned list that seems to be unsafe to play in. And I guess, I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's just from a liability standpoint. I mean, if something were to happen to him. I mean, if it were to play in it, I think the NFL is trying to protect their butt from like not being sued, of course, obviously. But at the same time, too, I mean, Antonio Brown, I mean, listen, there's been a lot of drama with him from his former team. I think some of it has been provoked. I mean, there's been a lot of questionable actions he's been doing. Way he's talking to the press, way he's acting as a teammate. I don't think necessarily he's like the biggest diva, but I mean, at the same time, too, I mean, one of the things he's been doing right now, when he first had his first helmet grievance against the NFL, it was denied on Monday, August 12th. He argued in his second go around recently this past week, and he provided the same that he was arguing that he should be provided the same right as other players in terms of having a 1 year grace period to phase out using his helmet. He is claiming the NFL is arbitrarily applying its rules. Listen, I really feel like right now, I think he does got somewhat of a decent point. I mean, if that is the case, I think in fairness to him, I mean, you let that. I mean, I think you should allow it, as crazy as it may sound. But I think he does have to sign a piece of paper, some sort of waiver. That's something where it happened to him. That's on his own accord. I mean, listen, I mean, a lot of these guys do need to be well better protected. I understand that. But I also do understand, too, that at this point in time, when you look at things, you have to make sure you're not showing up your teammates and also for future players. Stephen A. Smith even alluded to many times throughout the week, when you look at the kind of attitude that he attracts right now, and I'm not saying he's a bad attitude, but the stuff. I mean, one of the things I always learn in life, you want to avoid keeping yourself out of the headlines as much as possible. I think fair enough. I think we could all agree on that. But at the same time, too, I think where you really need to like start selling it down and start reaching is just that, hey, listen, I mean, unfortunately, you're not going to always have everything go your way. There are going to be some restrictions. We understand your frustration. I mean, obviously, we want to have it your best performance, but like I said, let's see what happens at this point in time. I feel like right now, where you have to look at it, I mean, at this point in time, is just that accept the rules for what they are, but at the same time, don't try and put your teammates in a bad position or it's going to affect future teams, players getting guaranteed contracts later down the road. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, I know you're looking out for yourself, but remember, look at else who you're affecting. And that's going to tie a bow on this episode of On Deck on CSR. Next week, more likely, I will not be here. It'll be Labor Day weekend, so I'll be returning in 2 weeks as officially right now. And I just want to say thank you all those for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richie, Instagram, Prodigy Richie, of course, my YouTube channel, Charles Richie. And of course, I host my Steel podcast Mondays and Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can follow me, same Twitter, Instagram, just a little bit different. Meta Steel Nation, my YouTube channel, Meta Steel podcast. So I always leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. We gone. Hey, Paul. Come here. Take my little fish hook.
Oh.
Go catch an armful after the head. I'm just kidding. I want to show you something. Nice. Oh, come here for real, man. I'm not trying to clown with you. Hey, Adobe Audition was not on the desktop, so I'm gonna have to convert it like to an MP3 later on when I get home.
Oh,
So what I did to help out,
yeah.
I'm not seeing options to put it to like the desktop, but if you guys need Adobe Audition, I pinned it to the taskbar, so you can open it right here. So whoever's doing a show and you record off Audition, I search for the program and I put it on the taskbar.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, it looks like they just updated it. The system now it's window. You know, it
I
works.
don't know if it's opening up. I think Windy City was having an issue yesterday with Adobe Audition. So that could probably be the same case with here as well.
Okay.
Or if you guys are not recording anything, you know that converter was, so you could just convert stuff to them.
Sure. Oh yeah. Let's see.
Thanks, Paul.
No, you got it. No, thank you, man.
428 people.
Nice. Awesome, dude.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff.
Try.
How was the show? Went good?
Yeah. I think just key, just your talking. Talking, stay consistent. People will pay attention to that. My opinion. I mean, it's like you're delivering the content as much as you're trying to share your stuff. You're still the one that's driving the show. You know what I'm saying? You and your co-host, or it's just a whole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Either way, at the end of the day, we provide the content. 448 people.
Wow.
See, my show was so good.
Nice.
They decided to drop down and give me 20.
Nice. There you go. I just want to make sure.
Oh, watch out, Paul. You got someone after your job out there.
I'm
I'm just kidding.
Hey, let's go.
I was saying the guy with the holes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is it, huh? This is the new audition?
That's been the new audition for like the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And we just never had this version in this studio.
I'm talking about, yeah, just record. I haven't had to record. I've used it. I just haven't had to record it in the edit before.
That's good.
So, okay. I just want to double check and make sure.
Oh, I'm not acting too much off the wall, am I?
Oh, okay. What? But no, you're good, bro.
Oh, some Steeler coat coming in soon.
Nice. What kind of coat? Like how? What's the thickness?
It's like a light jacket.
Oh, okay.
I accidentally opened up a link from someone in Messenger. One guy's account got hacked, so I immediately updated like my social media account passwords.
Oh, sure. Same.
Oh, you had that happen recently?
Yeah, I've had a couple of people where they tried messaging me, and
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you find out it's hacked. They got hacked.
I mean, it's kind of obvious, I mean, looking back at it now, you know what to look for.
For